to order the Cohasset Select Board meeting of Tuesday, March 31st. It's at 7:01. I think you're done here. And we are live in person. We are streaming on Facebook, and we are, a Zoom link is on the backside of our agenda. We're at 91 Sawyer Street, Wilcott Commons, and this meeting is being recorded. Can I have a call to order, please?
Paul Grady, present.
Chris Plex, present.
David Frog, present.
Ellen Mar, present. Let me invite everyone to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Is there any public comment in the audience? Is there any public comment online, Kevin?
One person.
Oh. What is it? Can you, are they, oh, okay. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Jacob Squattrito. I live at 31 Ash Street. I'm sorry for not being there tonight in person. We just had a school committee meeting wrap up. I just wanted to quickly emphasize that although the school budget is certainly in a better place than we were looking at in the end of February, and we are certainly grateful, at least I should say I am certainly grateful to the work the town has done to get us into a better situation. I just wanted to emphasize that there are still a lot of really major cuts that are part of the school's FY27 budget. I'm certainly not here to disparage or blame the select board for this, but I just wanted to emphasize this and really convey the importance of this and the value I see in the school district. Obviously, I am very biased towards this, but I don't feel the full understanding is there. I'm hearing from a lot of community members who are concerned about this, and I just wanted to share that although the school budget is certainly in a better place than it was, there are still a lot of concerns and a lot of cuts in the FY27 budget that are going to have a major impact on the district. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, great. Thank you. All right. So first up is approval to adopt the vote prepared by bond counsel and before the board in connection with the sale of the town's April 2026 bonds. Discussion and vote. Do you like to come up?
Evening. Thank you for having me.
Sure. I want to pull this microphone closer to you. Just wave over where it says.
Tap it.
Or tap it. There you go.
It's not there. I see it.
It's on. Yeah.
I'm pretty loud anyway, so we'll probably be all set.
Me too.
Yeah, so I just wanted to meet with you tonight. You've got all the paperwork, I believe you signed. As I said, you're probably all getting writer's cramp tonight. We had a lot of sale of the bonds, but it was extremely competitive, which is great for the town of Cohasset. We got 9 bids, which is very high in the municipal market to get that, and a great rate because working with Michelle Leary and Beth Mosley, we were able to take in a new ratings call with Standard & Poor's, and we were AAA rated once again. So good news for us. That was a competitive interest rate. We came in at 3.51% blended across all of the bonds that sold. So let's see if we get your vote to approve it, and we will be taking in the bond money in April.
Okay.
Before we vote,
Go ahead.
just explain what the bonds are for exactly.
Sure.
Sure.
Absolutely. Okay.
People at home would know.
Sure. So the overall total that we're going to be doing is $7,690,000. It's a combination of money for the public safety building design. We were rolling a ban that we took out last year for $1.8 million, along with a new borrowing of $1.2 million on that. We're also borrowing the full amount that we have coming for borrowing for the town hall project, as they expect to roll right through it over the coming year. And then the final amount was for the water mains for the Route 3A project, the replacement that they're doing there as part of that. So 1.2 on that, a little over 3.8 on the town hall and just about 3 blended on the public safety building. Yeah, and we got good premiums actually. So it actually came out to a little over $8 million originally, but because it was such a competitive bond sale, the town takes in money for that. We get a premium and then we apply that towards the project. So that's what brings it down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great. Any other questions, Mr. Frog?
No, thanks. I had seen everything in the packet beforehand, so thank you.
Okay. Mr. Plex,
No questions for me. Thank you.
Mr. Grady?
No question.
Okay, thank you. Once again, to have a AAA bond rating as we look at hopeful infrastructure projects going forward, can only benefit us, and appreciate all your hard work with Ms. Leary and Bethany. So what is the motion to approve? Is it on this letter?
Do you have the one? Did you get? I'm sorry. The one that I sent with the actual vote of the board, it was quite long. It says that it'll have the motion in that, but then there was wording that said the exact vote that they could do. Should be in an email, I think. I'm sorry. I don't have it with me because I thought,
Oh,
here, I got it. It's the vote to approve the borrowing of the April 9th bonds. I mean, I could word it myself. Just kind of good.
The vote, select board.
Yes, that is it, but you don't need to read that whole thing unless you want to.
No.
There should be a shortened version that I put in the email that said the vote to put
okay.
it as it was approved, as it was written by the bond council.
Motion to adjourn.
Yep, there you go. That's what you need.
All right. Okay,
Thank you.
that's okay. All right. So may I have a motion to adopt the vote prepared by bond council and before the board in connection with the sale of the town's April 2026 bond?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Great.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your time.
Or,
Good night.
thanks. Okay. You too.
Thank you.
Next up, sorry, I'm all over. Approval of the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93, Local 1395 Unit A facilities. So we reviewed this last week in executive session. We did not have it on the public meeting for a formal vote. We had the complete contract in our packets. It runs from July 1, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Does anyone have any questions on it? No. Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 93, Local 1395, Unit A, facility contract with the town of Cohasset?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, that's official now. Okay, next up, licenses, permits, and events. Q&L Food Company, last week, we deferred this. I believe that there had been some questions on its status, and Chief Quigley is on the line.
I am. We Board of Health went there. I'm not sure what the disposition of that is, so I'll defer to maybe. I don't see Michelle there, but I'm not sure. There was some
Okay.
questions as to issues with the DOR.
Okay, all right. So can I have a motion to defer the issuance of a common vic license to Q&L Food Company, DBA Black Hat Breakfast and Bakery?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we'll follow up on that with Michelle and whatever parties we need to.
That'd be the
Next
best.
up-
Linda Cole was on top of that as well.
Yeah, I remember seeing some correspondence on it that something was posted, but I do recall we had a DOR question. Okay, so next up we have two events from Veteran Services. Are you here representing Veteran Services, Chief?
I
Or
will,
is-
sure.
Or
It's,
is Phil Mahoney on the line? Okay, so these are standard Memorial Day events. The first is the Healing Field, May 23rd, 2026, from 1 to 2:30 p.m. They want an event and entertainment permit. No questions on this?
No, this is the Saturday that leads into the Memorial Day parade on Monday. This has been going on I think 13 or 15 years now. But we have a standing plan, and we'll implement that. And as we get closer to the event, we work the traffic folks work with Phil Mahoney, and should be no problem.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the Cohasset Veteran Service Healing Field, May 23rd, 2026, from 1 to 2:30 PM and waive the permit fee? So this is an event vote.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. May I have a motion to approve the Cohasset Veteran Service Healing Field, May 23rd, 2026, 1 to 2:30 entertainment permit? May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. I'm going to make this next one simpler. All right. So next up is the Memorial Day Parade, 12 to 2:30. So this is not for the parade itself, Chief. It's only for the event down by the harbor. Is that correct?
This is correct, and it covers the it almost starts at POW Square in the village, and it
Okay.
the parade itself that goes in, but it doesn't. We don't really permit the traveling part that starts at 8 a.m. and goes to the different ceremonies.
Okay.
Cemeteries, sorry.
The cemeteries. Okay. So this is also for an event and entertainment permit. So can I have a motion for the Cohasset Veteran Service Memorial Day Parade from noon to 2:30 PM, waiving the permit fee for an event and entertainment permit?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Richard Mahoney can proceed. Okay, next up is Stellwagen Beer Company, a one-day liquor license, arts and crafts on the Common, Cohasset Town Common. There, he has 2 dates. Is Mr. Snowdale on the line?
First name?
Michael? No. Okay. First event he's requesting is April 11th. And then the next one is May the 9th. I don't really know much about this event. Oh, it's part of Inebri Arts? Okay. Oh, he did mention that when we gave him the permit. Yep. Okay. Okay. So that makes sense. Chief, did you take a look at this special one-day liquor license for Stellwagen Beer Company?
I did, and this is we deal with this company all the time. They're very responsible, and they do a nice job. And I did. You guys were fading in and out, so sorry I lost you there for a second. But
Okay.
this looks fine. No issues are have been flagged.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
My only question, where are they enclosing the alcohol there? Doing the little beer garden, is it going to be on which side, I guess is the question.
It would be on the south side, the fountain side of the common, and they, as you know, they have to have a pen, so it'll be penned off.
Yep.
Okay. Do we have to do, so we have to do, because it's 2 dates, we have to do the 2 dates, or I can do it all at once?
I think you have to do two separate one-day licenses.
Oh, right. Okay. All right. So, does anyone else have any questions about this? No? Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the Stellwagen Beer Company one-day liquor license for Inebri Arts and Crafts on the Common, Cohasset, Mass, April 11th, 2026, 11 to 4?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Can I have a motion for Stellwagen Beer Company one-day liquor license for Inebri Arts and Crafts on the Common, Cohasset, Mass, May 19th, 2026, from 11 to 4 p.m.
So moved.
May 9th. What did I say?
May 19th.
I'm so sorry. May 9th. Thank you for the correction.
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Okay. We are flying through this. We might have to take a brief recess. So next up, seasonal annual liquor license renewal, Split Rock Social, Inc., DBA Split Rock Social. You have any comments, Chief?
No, we've never had an issue there. They're very responsible and responsive if we have any questions. No issues whatsoever.
Okay. Does anyone have any comments or questions about it? And there's no one from Split Rock? Okay, so it's just, oh, because it's seasonal, we didn't do it in the annual renewals. Okay. All right. May I have a motion to approve the seasonal annual liquor license for Split Rock Social Inc., DBA Split Rock Social?
So moved.
Oh, I have to do, sorry, there's got to be 4 seasonal beer and wine. So sorry, Mr. Grady. Seasonal beer and wine license, a common victualler's license, entertainment and Sunday state. So we'll go first for the seasonal beer and wine. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, for the same entity, a common vic license. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Entertainment license for the same entity. May I have a motion?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Finally, a Sunday state entertainment license for the same entity. May I have a motion?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That wraps up. And if we want to take a minute, finish our signatures. We're going to be on a brief pause. Oh.
She was in the first chair there.
It's over there on the, oh, you found yours, yeah.
It's not on, right?
Hmm?
You guys are just-
Are we, yeah, we're still recording. Yeah, we just finished. We're right on schedule. Please go ahead.
So I would like to call to order the Cohasset Advisory Committee joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen on Tuesday, March 31st at 7:30 PM, or a little bit early, 7. Call to order, please. Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, present.
Tom Callahan,
Tom Kelly, present.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron here.
Mike Flaherty,
He's not in.
okay. Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy here.
Mark Maggi, Courtney Murphy present, Vince Thornton, and Gina Stino present.
Great. Okay. So this is a joint meeting. We're going to go through the budget and every warrant article, or?
So, we're gonna go through Article 4, which is the operating budget. And we do have a few other articles to recommend.
Okay,
If you'd like to start with the budget, I'm happy to do that, or if you'd like to start with the housekeeping items and go through these articles.
advisory's already voted on the other articles.
They have not.
Oh,
So
okay.
they're also voting alongside.
Oh,
select.
tonight?
Yes.
Okay, well, if it's not objectionable, let's get through the housekeeping ones and get through those, and then we can relax and have a fulsome conversation about the budget. That's acceptable.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Okay, so, Article 5, this is for select board only. The select board voted to recommend unpaid bills from previous years. I'm bringing it back before you for a new vote. There was one item added this week. And it was added by the DPW.
So do we have to rescind our previous vote? Okay. And was it last week? Last week?
Yes.
Okay. So it's that bill for Granger?
Yep, it's a Granger bill for $290.31.
Okay. All right, so can I have a motion to rescind the select board vote of March 24th, 2026 for Article 5?
So moved.
I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I have a motion to approve Article 5, unpaid bills from previous years as presented today, March 31st, 2026.
So moved.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Okay, the next article would be Article 22. This has had a lot of discussion about the resolution for the town to reach net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. I believe Tanya Bodell is here to discuss that. Okay. And Jennifer?
And advisory will be voting as well. Okay.
This is for both.
Hi.
Hello.
Name and addresses, please, for the record.
Yes, Tanya Bodell. I'm the chair of the Alternative Energy Committee, 88 South Main Street.
Debbie Cook, Vice Chair, 281 King.
Thank you.
There's been discussion. Would you like to ask us questions? Would you like us to give a background?
Just give us like a 3-minute overview for the audience. We've received the materials. I'm not sure everybody.
No problem. So the Cohasset Alternative Energy Committee did a survey of the town a couple years ago, and overwhelmingly there was support for decarbonization. This warrant article is a non-binding resolution that would allow us to go after funding for grants, do a decarbonization plan, as well as to achieve potentially climate leader status, for which $1.15 million has already been granted to other towns that have achieved that status. That is a continuation or a different pathway than the Green Communities Act, for which we've already received more than $1 million in grants. But potentially our opportunity to obtain grants through that avenue is closing. And so this would be a non-binding resolution, and I turn it to Debbie as the foundation. So that's the background of why we're here.
Right. So actually, and this echoes the actual state roadmap. So this language came from and it is law. So we are trying to also comply with the law and have the town comply with the law. But the idea of this is it's only on the municipal side. So when the town is going out for bids, the idea is that they look for a non-fossil fuel alternative first. If it doesn't work or it's not going to, it's not effective financially, then they go, look for something else. But it's basically to start at a renewable energy vehicle or anything for the buildings. So so we can echo what is being actually mandated by the state.
And last year we talked about this as good governance. The state has these goals, and as a municipality, it would behoove us to try to take the lead in understanding how to achieve those goals as opposed to waiting for unfunded mandates. And so by passing this, it would help us to be able to get grant funding for a decarbonization roadmap. This is one of the requirements. They don't want to give funding for a decarbonization roadmap unless you already have a commitment to decarbonize. And so it's a bit of a chicken egg issue, but we bring it to you, understanding that many municipalities in Massachusetts have already done this and are receiving grants because of that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions from the select board? Mr. Farag?
In trying to reach this goal, is there any idea of, number one, where Cohasset is currently on their percentage municipally? And then secondarily, what would be the costs associated in reaching these goals?
So
Municipality.
this is a great question. And this is what a decarbonization roadmap exercise would do, for which we're looking to get the grants, the technical support that we would need to do a non-binding resolution enabled to be able to get the grants to be able to do that. The expense, having done this for Hingham in my day job, the expense is difficult to assess because it depends on changing technology. There are also outs with respect to things not being feasible. As an example, we had an electric school bus. We found it was not feasible for us. Other towns are finding it's not feasible for them. And so that would be, in our minds, we'd have justification to exclude that from the commitments.
And fortunately, you all signed the MOU with National Grid that has been actually compiling a lot of information about the carbonization in our public buildings, and has been actually, so we are getting a lot of the information already. And then also we have our vehicles too. They've started analyzing that too. So we are already on the road to finding out all of the information about where we stand. And I will make a plug for National Grid and the MOU and their support for all of this, and being in on the ground floor of the town hall and potentially the police station. So.
Thank you. Mr. Flex,
No questions from me. Thank you.
Mr. Grady.
Like a couple concerns. The rest of it didn't bother me at all, but when it said that our buildings, now are we including the homes in that? So for instance, if I want to go from, say, oil, or we have say the town hall, for instance, we have to put new heat in there, or this building. It's the first alternative that we have to look at, say, electric or heat pumps, or are we allowed to go out to bid and factor in what's the best product for the building at the time? That's, I mean, it's kind of.
No, I understand. It's a good question. I think it's important to understand this is a municipal load only. Does not apply to citizens or their houses. But with respect to the town's buildings, the key thing is it's not ignored, right? Just going out for a natural gas-fired boiler and not considering the other alternatives as options and getting pricing for that would be counter to the spirit of the resident. So looking at the decarbonization opportunities as part of our decision-making process, because that's part of the resolution. Again, a non-binding resolution, but in the spirit of the resolution, considering the alternatives. If it turns out they're more expensive, unfeasible, technically not able to be done, the town has the ability to not choose that option.
And that would be done without, say, I don't mean this towards you guys at all, like without argument. We sometimes get some pushback on some things that have passed and things that go by, and good communications throughout town. But that's my worry. It's like, so for instance, electric heat, prohibitively still expensive. It was a big shot in the 70s. Heat pumps, prohibitively, they're great, but very expensive to install and maintain until the technology is brought back up.
Yeah. Our committee has worked with the police and fire department. We're working with the schools to try to identify whether the new Osgood roof can host solar or if there's an alternative. So it is in the spirit of collaboration, not in the spirit of policing, which we have no authority to do, frankly, anyway. But we're here as a resource for the town.
No, you answered my question. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you. Mrs. Estino, any questions from your committee?
Yeah, I'd just love to get a little bit caught up, because the only thing we know is that there's a placeholder for this discussion. So I just want to understand. Thank you.
Ignore my scribbles, my love notes.
Well, but I missed it.
I have another copy if you want to share it.
Thank you.
It's what was submitted.
While you're reading, should I ask a question? Please, yeah, that's great. Two different terms. I heard goals of the Commonwealth, and I specifically heard law. Is this an existing statute that we need to comply with?
This is settled law in the roadmap.
Well, I don't think it's law.
It is law. That's what they said. Is
a town required to comply with what is written in the warrant?
no, this is a non-binding. This means that, that it's just, it's kind of like looking at energy saving alternatives first. And if they aren't going to work, let's say police cars or anything like that, then you go to the gas powered. But the idea is you don't immediately go and not look at that as an alternative. But if it doesn't pan out, and that's the idea. I think most of it is going to be based on financial, like to Mr. Grady's point. I mean, if the financials don't work out, very justified to go a different way.
I'd also like to say, this is not exclusively our language. We tried to do the first half of this and we're asked to beef it up with examples of what the town would do. And so that's where the second part comes in. But this is language that was approved by, you worked with
Lisa Sullivan, who works with us on green communities. So, yeah. And she's approved this language.
This also is one more step towards climate leaders status, which would open up a whole new set of energy efficiency and carbon reducing grant opportunities.
Up to $1,150,000. So
Diane Kennedy.
So just trying to understand the actual action. So we're asking town meeting to pass a resolution that would that resolution of reaching 50% net zero. Would you need that authorization or that resolution in order to apply for grant funding, such that we can answer some of the questions that Mr. Frog had earlier?
yes.
Where are we status report?
Yes. So for example, technical assistance on a decarbonization plan requires us to have passed a non-binding resolution along these lines. Climate Action Leader Program requires, as one of their 5 requirements, that we have a resolution to achieve net zero by 2050. Similar to language in this. So this language would meet the requirements to be able to go after the funding, to be able to answer some of these questions and to understand cost, feasibility, timeline. It also, in doing so, as I said, gives us the proactive governance to be able to respond to state mandates that may start coming down the line as the state wants to achieve these goals.
But but I'm trying to understand though, kind of use the word law, state law. This does not bind us. So if the state changes their roadmap or imposes different restrictions or what have you, we are not by passing this, correct?
Correct. This is a non-binding resolution by the town.
And so this roadmap that was codified in 2021, at the time, grant availability was far better than it is now. So I guess I wonder or worry a little bit, just what is the opportunity set for grants today or 2 years from now versus when this was originally contemplated? And does that create a potential funding question down the road?
Yes. So I think when the state roadmap was passed, Green Communities was well underway, and we were well in the throes of that because a number of those requirements had been passed in the 2015-ish period. We are coming to sort of the end of our money on that, and that's where the Climate Leaders Program comes in. That's a new program that was non-existent or may have been beginning to be discussed in 2022. So there's another bucket of money that is available if we pass this resolution.
Through the state, federal government?
Through the state.
State. Okay.
So, Michelle, would we structure this where the article is, because what we have is warrant article title resolution of the town of Cohasset's municipal services to reach 50% net zero greenhouse gas emissions 2030 and 100% by 2050. And then where it says warrant article would be the informational summary to follow our Correct. Okay. And has AEC voted on this?
Yes.
Okay. So we would probably want to get their vote in.
Yeah.
Yes.
AC's unanimously approved it.
And a couple of follow-ups to
Okay.
rip through with everybody.
Does anyone else have any questions from advisory? No. My only question was whether or not it would impact individual homes in the bank, but it states it's municipal services, so. That's correct. It would not impact the community. So this is not the town committing to have the entire community achieve net zero. Interestingly, Hingham has passed that, as have a number of other municipalities, but this is solely for the municipal operations. Well, I saw somebody posted on Situate Monthly about, they were very concerned that they were not going to be able to be compliant, or what they would have to do to become compliant. So I saw this and I thought, yes, no, this is solely what the town has in its control, which is the town operations. Okay.
If I could just ask one more question, and then what I'm really anxious about is what you're going to probably follow up with, which is what's going in the warrant, what's the actual, sort of language. I understand craft the information today, but the other question I have is, you have the expertise. I mean, 3 years from now is the end of this, I mean, I just find like 2030, we're kind of, just seems like we don't have a whole lot of time, and I don't know that we're even reasonably close to 50%. So I'd like to think of it again, is it just we need this so we can go find these things?
No, I'd like to think of it more as closer to 5 years, not 3 years, because I would count the end of 2030 as still being by 2030. But again, I think it's hard for us to get the money, honestly, without passing it, and without getting the money, it's hard for us to even start moving towards the decarbonization goals, or even understanding where we are. We, as a committee, a couple of years ago, did do our own carbon accounting for the town. And so we can go back and look at that and see where we stand. We've implemented a lot of energy efficiency under the Green Communities program since then. But load changes. And I think the state itself is having challenges of trying to achieve their goals for a number of reasons. So again, I don't think that means we should wait for the state to throw in the towel.
Right.
I think taking a proactive approach, finding out the information, understanding where we can move forward on things is a more proactive way to governance. I consider it good governance, frankly, given the state that we're in. If we're in Texas, it might be a different issue, but we are in Massachusetts.
And Mr. Frog had a follow-up question.
Yeah, a comment. One of the concerns is I've read the Climate Leaders Program, and it has a particular aversion to natural gas. And it really tries to flip you from natural gas or anything else to electric. And electric, our current grid that Massachusetts produces has a significant portion of it that is created from natural gas. So why do we need to go from natural gas to electric? And in the case of our town, we have a couple buildings, the Lightkeepers building and the Legion both have gas stoves. So if those stoves need to be repaired or whatever, under the program, they're looking to replace those ever, if the town is, they're going to be forced to do electric stoves, which is going to be significant cost more than what is there now. Now, I'm totally for the strategic nature of doing solar. Our schools, their electric usage has gone down, but their electric bills have gone up, even though they've tried to conserve. We're looking at obviously trying to do solar at the Osgood, and then hopefully Deer Hill, and then eventually high school. Police station, if it goes through on King Street, is solar ready, so that all of our buildings can switch over as much as we can, and I'm all for that. But the aversion that it has to natural gas, and then the other question is, or that's more of a comment, but question is what about our fleet? I mean, we've got DPW trucks that have to plow. They run mainly on diesel. I don't foresee them switching to electric for sure. I mean, we had enough trouble trying to plow the snow with with diesel trucks, let alone switching over our police cars, our fire, our ambulances. I don't see those switching over, but if we do this, when they come to capital budget to say, we need a new fire truck, we need to do this, this really puts, well, you've got to kind of, you're being nudged to look at electric first, where basically the technology isn't there for those yet.
So I would say, first of all, nothing in here would force any building in the town to get rid of a gas stove, right? It would ask that it consider the alternatives and look at what it would cost. How much is the price difference to go to an alternative? And does it make sense to do that? And given everything else, the functionality, the economics, and that's clearly laid out in there. Secondly, you're right that the system, New England system, is predominantly natural gas. We have a different situation in our town, which is our substation is approaching maximum capacity. These are the types of things that I would want the roadmap to look at, document, and identify as constraints potentially on moving towards this, or identifying what it would require, which might be a whole nother substation and the expense associated with that, working with National Grid. What would that require? Who would be on the hook for that? So this is not just offense. I see it also as defense for the town. Again, I see it as good governance to understand what are these obligations that the state has. They are looking at the municipalities to implement them. Let's take advantage of the grants that are available to move forward with getting our arms around a decarbonization plan and understand the feasibility technically, economically, and practically. And I understand also if there's no fire truck that makes sense on an EV side, and frankly, we've been told even the police cars don't make sense on an EV side because of the charging time. This again is about feasibility and identifying that. And that's what the roadmap would do, that we want to be able to get the funding for, the technical funding, to be able to identify all of these opportunities and constraints that the particular specific situation of our town has.
Thank you.
Okay.
May I ask a perhaps unfair question, but suppose we pass this and then the grant money's not there.
Mhm.
And so there's no real funding to the ability to get there. I mean, I agree with Diane. I think 2030 is a lot closer than we believe. What happens then? If the grant money dries up,
Yep.
or, we just don't
Could I-
get it.
It's basically just saying, when you go to purchase something, that you consider, consider something that's electric or, runs with renewable energy first.
Well, but
And
Debbie, it
that
also
fucks it
says
up.
we're trying to get to 50% reduction.
It does, but it's
100%. It's net zero.
a goal that in this does not commit us to it reach its non-binding. So it is guidance.
I don't mean to be difficult, but again, like in the cases of DEW equipment and things like that, where we know it's the alternative is not feasible, would we still have to go out and explore the alternative, even though we know it's not feasible under the state law?
So if you actually know it's not feasible without exploring it, that can be documented, and that's a justification for not even considering it, right? At this point in time. I would say if we pass this and there's no funding, the Alternative Energy Committee is already committed to doing, as far as we can, a decarbonization roadmap. So gathering the information, we're in the process of doing that. Understanding what our carbon footprint is, we're already trying to do that. We're getting stuck where it'd be very helpful if we had technical support. If we don't get technical support, we'll take it as far as we can take it. And that's at least going to be a good show for the state that we did as best as we can, and sort of not our fault you stop funding the technical support. But it's a non-binding resolution. I guess in theory, we can always rescind it if the town, it just gets so upset about what's happening, it can be rescinded. But I think a commitment, a non-binding resolution by the town that sees what the town wants to do with respect to decarbonization. Our survey showed significant support for this. And so taking it to the town floor, letting the town vote, seeing where it lands. We, the Alternative Energy Committee, are guided by you, the boards and the town. And so we can talk about the worst case scenario. I don't see a worst case scenario. It's a non-binding resolution. It shows a commitment. If the town, they don't want it, they're going to vote against it. But we think it's important as Alternative Energy Committee and good governance to get our arms around it, try to do that, get as much funding as possible to continue going down that path.
All right. Thank you. So I just have a couple of comments, mostly for Michelle. Number one is, I think we need to see this in article form, okay, with the informational summary and the votes in the actual language. That's number one. Number two is, has town council reviewed this?
To the best of my knowledge, they have.
Town council?
Our understanding is yes.
Okay, can we just get that reconfirmed? Okay. And number three is, thank goodness capital budget isn't here. Could you imagine having to vet 3 different types of vehicles every time the renewal every year? There's police vehicles. I mean, it's a lofty goal. And I understand what the survey says, but a lot of times, as we all know, people fill out surveys because they feel good to say something until it, what's the rubber meets the road kind of thing. So I just think, we have to, the capital budget effects could be very strenuous, to do due diligence on this. So Mrs. Estino, I don't know if you're ready to make a motion to vote?
I would say that I agree with you that we need more information.
Okay, so is the warrant is closing. We're voting to close the warrant tonight. So how does my committee feel, Mr. Plex?
Can we edit the language of what we have in the draft? Because I do have some concerns with the way this is drafted. For example, it describes it as a non-binding resolution committing the town, which is inherently contradictory. So are we in a position to edit this on the fly? Do we want to ask for a new draft?
We can work on the language and then you can recommend or not at town meeting.
Yeah, I was going to say, unless my board has a very strong perspective, I would like to defer our vote until town meeting floor, once we can see all of the language. So it's not a no, but we do need to see what we are recommending, to the townspeople, and we'll get the AEC vote logged in appropriately as well. How does that sound to advisory?
Sounds great.
Okay, so can I have a motion for Article 22 to refer recommendation to town meeting until town meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Celestino?
Could I have a motion for Article 22? Clarify language for an actual motion.
So moved.
All in favor? Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, aye.
Tom Callahan, Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, aye.
Michael Flaherty,
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, aye.
Courtney Murphy, Vince Thornton,
Vince Thornton, aye.
Gina Stino, aye.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much, and for all your work on,
Of course.
energy.
We
Medical asset.
Thank you.
Okay. So next up is the first of 2 citizens petition, the noise control bylaw. We heard the presentation before. Has advisory heard it? Yeah. Okay. Have you voted? You did not. Okay. I don't think we have any proponents of the citizens petition online, Mr. Collins, no. Does anyone on the select board have any comments or questions? No, not since our last meeting. Do you want to, Mr.
Anybody ask town council if this is appropriate, because
Yes,
I read the bylaw, like specific amendments, the bylaw is changing. There's nothing, you know, language that would be changed in the actual bylaw. If it's appropriate, fine. Maybe it's an aspiration rather than telling you what you're specifically amending in the bylaw.
Yeah.
I think it's the same issue. The town council says it's fine, but.
Yeah, the noise bylaw, it was run by Attorney Murray, correct?
Correct.
And she said in its form it was fine.
Correct.
Yep. Okay, Mrs. Estina, would you like to poll your group?
Yes. Okay, so do I have a motion to? All right, recommend article.
Can the motion be in either direction or
Citizens.
Wait, Mark's got a question.
Okay, sorry.
can the motion be in either direction or are we?
Yes, so,
If we keep it in the positive, it eliminates the double negatives here, right?
Right.
So we can recommend to move it, but then vote
Against.
against it if you
Should be.
choose, right,
It's just,
Okay.
it eliminates the double negatives.
correct, right.
We're marrying here.
We've done this enough to know.
Make a motion.
Okay, so would you like to make the motion? Okay, so do I have a motion to recommend Article 25 citizen petition noise control bylaw to,
Is it 24?
Article 24.
is it 24?
Is it the warrant, the first warrant that we have some?
This one's 20, I just printed this this morning. Yeah,
I'm not saying.
24.
Michelle, is it,
24.
it's 24?
Move to recommend Article 20.
Okay, all right, so are you making that motion, Don?
Second.
Does it second? Mark? Okay, Mike Barclay,
Mike Barclay, nay.
Tom Callahan,
Tom Callahan,
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, nay.
Mike Flaherty,
Mike Flaherty, nay.
Diane Kennedy,
Diane Kennedy, nay.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, nay.
Courtney Murphy,
Courtney Murphy, nay.
Vince Thornton. Can't hear you, Vince.
Vince Thornton, nay.
Okay, and Gina Stino, nay.
Okay. Thank you. So can I have a motion to recommend to town meeting floor Article 24, the citizens petition, the noise control bylaw?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
You might want to roll call this one.
Okay, I'll do a roll call vote. Mr. Grady,
Nay.
Mr. Plex,
Nay.
Mr. Farag,
Nay.
and Ellen Mar, nay. Okay. Okay, citizens petition Wheelwright Park. This is in regards to the cell tower. Have you had a presentation?
We have.
Okay. We have had a presentation. I don't have any further questions. Is it Mr. Callahan?
I'm going to bring up whether this is done by town council, because as I said to the proponents after it was presented to us, to me, this just a resolution. That while I agree with the concept, it doesn't seem to do what they want to do, which to me would be to rescind the previous town meeting vote that allowed this tower to be put. So I just wonder if it legally has any effect other than as being a resolution to, that we don't like them. That's what my fear is. The town council, again, if the town council's weighed in on it, somebody should have asked that question.
We did, and unfortunately I can't get to my email. I believe town council said that this one was a lot more nebulous than the previous citizens petition in terms of the fact that not only was it voted for unanimously on town meeting floor and in special town meeting 2022, it's gone to the state. It's been approved by the state. It's been approved by the Attorney General, the land swap. Michelle, correct me if I'm missing anything. Contracts have been signed. I think she indicated that if we were to rescind this, that we would be in breach of contract with the cell phone provider. And so I think I think the argument, Ms. Kennedy had asked for previously copies of the deeds and the wills and the trusts, and I haven't seen them. Have you seen anything?
I've seen them.
Yeah. And they might be valid from 1917. However, as Mr. Farag pointed out, in the 1950s, Norfolk surveyor put up a radar tower pretty much in the middle of the park as well. So it isn't unprecedented.
Make this difference. I mean, I remember reading the will a long time ago. A long time ago, I thought you wouldn't be able to do this, my interpretation. But again, it's up to town council says it's nebulous.
Yeah, that's my word, not hers, because I've logged out. So
I support the spirit of it, but I just don't think it's.
I have a
Mr. Farag.
couple things on this. Nobody is going to want to do business with Cohasset ever again if we go down the road, we get legislation, sign contracts, and then breach them because we say, no, something shouldn't go over here, it should go over there. And now we have to totally have a town do a 180 because the town, even though this was before when I was on the board and most of us were on the board when this started, I mean, town meeting went down this road and voted for it unanimously. And in that article in 2022, it explained that it was for a cell tower in Wheelwright Park, and it even included the land that it was going to be swapped for. So it was as transparent could be. That was mailed in the warrant to every single mailbox, every single home in this town. And the people voted for unanimously, and then the select board at that time moved forward with the consent of town meeting to go forward with this in order to solve not only the issue of no service in quadrants of the town from Sandy Beach all the way over to, Jerusalem Road and Landgate, place like that, but also for our public safety, which is the first and foremost. And so they went forward with it. They got the legislation, they got the contracts. They're going through the permitting and everything to go finish it off. If we turn around now and breach the contract with the provider, who is going to want to do business with Cohasset again? We spend millions of dollars on designs for things that we don't go forward with town hall and everything else. We now get cold feet because we want to move it somewhere else. And for the people who want to move it to the RTF or say, why can't we do it there? The elevation is not the same. There's a solar array. There's a capped landfill that you'd have to drill through to hold up the structure. The solar panels, people are not going to want to have a cell tower hanging over their solar, because if there's a storm and a piece of the cell tower or some of the drums or things fall off, it's going to destroy the solar, which is then going to hurt us. So the RTF was out. They looked at the best place they could, and that's where they came for it. It's in 0.6 acres of Wheelwright Park, which is over 200 to 300 acres. It's off to the left, and then it's going to improve the entrance at Forest Ave, where right now, if you park on Forest Ave, you open up your door, you're lucky not to get killed. They're going to make the spaces so that you can fit multiple cars, and then more people can enjoy going to Wheelwright Park vis-a-vis the Forest Ave entrance. The cart path will be upgraded so that our forestry unit for the fire department and anything else can get in there as well. So for all those reasons, like I said, the town should not backtrack on this and to spin around. Like I said, I don't know who's going to do business with Cohasset if we do that when they're, basically ready to do construction. Not less the fact that we're going to be in breach of contract. They can sue us for consequential damages, which means all of the engineering they did, everything they did up until the point after the contract till now, they could sue us for, and then they could sue us for specific performance to say, town, no, you're not going to get out of it. We're going to sue you. So basically, if we do this, we're going to be buying ourselves a big lawsuit that we're going to lose. So for all those reasons, and for the reasons of the public safety of getting coverage for all those people who have been complaining about it and need it for all these years, to finally get them coverage for that whole area of town, for Rocky Beach, for all the emergencies we've had there throughout the years. like I said, I don't agree with this article. I agree with the idea that you don't generally put them in public parks, but all of the public parks, most public parks in the state have communications equipment in them. The Blue Hills has communications equipment. It has, in fact, it has a 640-foot tower that WGBH is on, and WZLX, and the sports radio, the hub, and practically everything you listen to on the radio. And no one says that the Blue Hills has been degraded or it's gone downhill because there's that one tower, which when you come home from Florida, your plane has to go around to land at Logan. So for all those reasons, I'm against this article. I just think it's wrong on so many levels. Thank you.
Just one thing and then you. So I found the email, okay, from Attorney Murray, who had a Zoom meeting with the petitioners. They discussed whether the vote would be a resolution or binding. If the intent is to be binding, there will have to be another special act of legislation to repeal Chapter 163 of the Acts of 2024, the distinction between legislative and executive powers, and that the select board have the power to enter into the lease for the cell tower, and that the successful bidder may have a claim against the town if the lease is terminated. Mr. Grady.
I just like to think if someone's walking up there, they'll be able to use their phone. I think that's a pretty marvelous thing. And I also remember prior to town meeting, how many walks did we have up there? How many different public events were open space where everybody was invited to come? They were shown with a tower up there in snow, ice, and in better weather, just to see it in different kinds. So there was a good lead up to this cell phone being approved unanimously. And the same people that are right now with arms against it were at that town meeting or weren't.
They were not.
So,
I was only one.
you know, I would leave it at that. That's why I'm not in favor.
Mr. Plex, do you have any comments?
Just briefly, I agree with my colleagues that if the people who are advocating for this warrant article just wanted to undo what had been done before, then that's the right approach to take. This just muddies the waters, so I oppose it.
Mrs. Kennedy had a question.
No, I just wanted to note that I agree with everything that's been said. I just find that the actual action that's taken that we're asking town meeting to take is very unclear because it doesn't talk about rescinding. It just talks about the spirit of a will. And so that's why I asked, like, in order to really act on what's here, we would need more information. But I agree. I think it's nebulous at best, and for that reason, support.
Right.
So we need a motion to
Make it simple, make a motion not to recommend Article 24.
Keep it in the positive.
Keep it in the
Keep it in the positive.
Okay, I have a motion not to recommend.
No.
Motion to recommend.
To recommend, Article 25, citizen petition Wheelwright Park to town meeting.
So moved. Second.
Okay, roll call, please. Mike Barkley,
Mike Barkley, nay.
Tom Callahan,
Callahan, nay.
Mark Cameron,
Mark Cameron, nay.
Mike Flaherty,
Mike Flaherty, nay.
Brian Kennedy, nay.
Mark Maggi,
Mark Maggi, nay.
Courtney Murphy,
Murphy, nay.
Vince Thornton,
Vince Thornton, nay.
and Gina Stino, nay.
Okay. So can I have a motion from the select board to recommend Article 25 to town meeting?
So moved.
I have a second.
Second?
A roll call. Mr. Grady,
Nay.
Mr. Plex,
Nay.
Mr. Farag, and Ellen Mar, nay. Okay. Is that the end of the housekeeping?
I can hear
Okay.
the typing. I can hear the typing.
Okay. So now we're on to the budget. So I don't know if you heard, the school committee voted tonight 5-0 to approve their budget as presented at their public hearing on the 18th, I think. Yeah, the 18th. So it's that budget. There's been no change to the budget since the public hearing, or has there? There has?
A slight change. Their budget has increased of 19,000 some odd dollars
Okay,
from that hearing.
okay. So 5-0, and I'll just comment that we had public comment from, school committee member Jake Squattrito at the beginning of our meeting, indicating, yes, that they voted 5-0, but he still feels that there was significant shortcomings in the budget. Excuse me, and he thinks it's, we should take care going forward with the budget. Okay, Miss Leary.
Okay. So we've presented several variations of the budget, even several different presentations outlining free cash, the Prop 2.5, debt exclusions, all of those things. So for tonight's budget presentation, we're just going to get into the actual budget. And if anyone has any questions, please feel free to just stop and ask.
I have a comment.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna just put the elephant in the room. All this commentary that's been out on social media, people reading it, and the things in the anchor, these budgets being put up. While I don't agree with really any of it, but say, have we taken that into account? And I just to answer for our viewing public.
So to answer that question, I can't actually answer that question because I don't look on social media for my information. We've built a budget in collaboration with the school. I think for this budget cycle, I think we've both made concessions. Some that neither side was really favorable of. However, this was the best way to get us to a balanced budget in FY27. We have agreed that perhaps looking at an override in FY28 and beyond is not a bad idea. But as far as social media and all the posts, I don't know that I can really speak to that. When we built the presentation, when we built the budget, we took into account all the collaboration on the school side and the town side, and we came up with a balanced budget.
That's what I was getting at.
Okay.
So we have opened ourselves up to town input, is what I'm getting at. And
Departmental.
As there are people asking us to postpone the budget so they can maybe come up with their own. I don't know what the plan is or what the logic. But I'm glad that we've.
Okay. So let's walk through the budget, and then if we have questions and let's see how far we get. So as far as the FY27 budget, I just wanted to highlight free cash. So free cash numbers year over year seem to have declined. In 2023 was our healthiest free cash year at $2.5 million. 2024 declined to 1.8. In 2025, we're at $1.2 million. The way we allocate our free cash, you can see here. So we're funding 50% of OPEB with free cash. The other is coming from taxation. The reserve fund, we are funding $30,000 of that from free cash. And capital stabilization, we're funding $100,000 from free cash. We have an early retirement incentive for the teachers. And that is being funded a one-time cost by free cash at $84,000 and change. We have prior year bills at $4,808 and change. And then other one-time costs equal $87,000. We did allocate at special town meeting additional free cash, which was for OPEB, one-time costs again in prior year bills. So going into the next year, we are limited with free cash spending. I think we spent it all down. Our free cash numbers aren't as healthy as they once were. And that is for several reasons. We're budgeting a lot tighter than we have in the past. And costs have gone up. So there's some offsets within our budget, and it's not falling to the bottom line. And that's how you generate a free cash number. Next slide. When we talk about the FY 27 budget forecast, we talk about the levy limit. FY 27, we have a total levy of $53,779,216. This is property taxes increased by 2.5%. And unfortunately, the new growth number this year that's projected at 350,000 is down from over $1 million last year. New growth obviously is generated by additional buildings and building permits and growth within the community. And, you know, that seems to have has slowed primarily due to mostly the financial climate increased. Let's see, losing my train of thought. So interest rates are higher, people aren't building as much, there's less land in town for them to build on. So both of those components is why we're only estimating free cash, new growth of $350,000. The revenues by source. So here we have our state aid number, the cherry sheet. Local receipts have increased in FY 27. We're looking at a $5.3 million number versus 4.7 last year. That local receipts number is driven primarily by the RTF expenses. Kevin, can you go to the next slide, please? Doesn't want to. There. And we have a transfer from the enterprise funds for indirect costs, and those are for town services that are offered to the enterprise funds. You'll see your other financing sources, your free cash. Again, we spoke about that. So OPEB is funded 50% by taxation. You have your reserve fund, your free cash capital stabilization fund, your overlay fund at $150,000, which we already discussed, was released to help fund the school budget. Transfer of capital stabilization, and that's a debt service payment, transfer from CPC, transfer from recreation field account, and transfer from Title V betterment. So all of these plus the total levy limit you saw on the other page equals $65,063,929. But then when you look at your shared and mandatory budget, your expenses here, you will see after all of these shared and mandatory expenses, the actual available revenue is $43,246,567. Some of these shared and mandatory costs, I believe, this is what causes most questions within the budget is, you know, why do we put some of these costs here? Why don't we put them elsewhere? So for this year, for shared and mandatory costs, we did add 50% of the South Shore Regional Emergency Communication Center, which is our dispatch center. We added half of that to the shared cost. It is a shared expense throughout the town. Everyone uses these services, so we found it fitting to put here. We have the school support operations, which are the SROs. Those are also here in the shared expense. We have the reserve fund as a shared expense. All departments have available, can use this fund, so it lies here. CIO, so here you'll see that has come down substantially over last year. Last year, the entire school portion of the technology budget was located in the shared budget. We felt it important just to break that out and make sure that we were only using the shared budget for true shared expenses, which we calculated $351,000. Emergency management has always lived within this shared budget. Risk management has always lived here. South Shore VOTEC, you'll see we had an increase this year due to increased participation at South Shore VOTEC. That again lives within the shared budget. DPW field maintenance, this is now in the shared budget. It's $3,000. This was an allocation that is more almost as an indirect cost that we feel as though should remain in the shared budget. facilities salary line and facilities school expense lines. So these items have always lived within the town budget, and we felt it fitting for them to move into a shared budget because they are a shared resource. The debt and interest payments that you see below for the general fund, capital stabilization fund, Title V betterment, those are all pass-throughs from the above line that we just talked about. And then we have your pension liability at 3.7 million, workers' compensation at 184,000, unemployment benefits at 30,000. We put that in the shared budget this year due to some budget cuts on the town side and potentially the school side. We thought it was fitting to put the unemployment number here. We also have the health insurance cost, and that is a mandatory cost and has always lived within the shared budget. Once again, we took an increase this year, and it is now at $7.5 million. Life insurance, slight decrease, nominal, has always been borne here in the shared expenses and Medicare taxes as well. So once we take the total shared and mandatory budgets at $15,753,523, we have total expenditures at $21,817,362. We have that available revenue number of $43,246,567.
Can I just make a comment on this?
Yes.
So, one of the comments that has been out there is that the shared budget was increased in order to decrease the available revenue for the school town split. And other than normal increases for ongoing items, the puts and takes, as Michelle articulated, the Shrek is plus 430, HR is minus 271. The CIO line dropped 589,000. DPW added 3,000 for the fields and 393 for facilities, which is all in the budget. So the net is plus 32.6, not plus, I think the number was 700,000 that was out there. So it was a fine negotiation in terms of what was added to the share budget, what was reduced in the share budget, and it was not an attempt to increase the shared budget to offset a lower contribution to school and town out of new resources.
So after all of these expenses, the school share, the 61% of new revenue, I think that's also a question that I've heard quite often, is this budget is not representative of 61% to the schools. And that is true. The schools benefit from 61% of new revenue, and the town share is 39% of new revenue. So the actual new revenue for the schools is 1.2 million, and the town side is $767,000. For total school budget, and as Ellen pointed out earlier, they have approved their school budget at $26,031,005. And the town budget is recommended is $17,215,562. And that again equals the available revenue at $43,246,567. Some major budget factors here within the budget. So we have contractual wage agreements. The police chief, the fire chief, the UFPO local 143 police officers, NEPBA local 85 superior officers, the Cohasset Fire, ASME Unit B Public Works, ASME Unit A facilities, and teachers. These are all contractual wage agreements. So when you're looking at that line level detail that you'll see on the town side and the school side, when you look at these salaries, they're impacted by the contractual wage agreements. Something else to highlight here within the budget is our fixed costs. So these are costs, they're fixed. There's not much we can do about them. South Shore Vocational Schools, $274,000. As we just discussed, that has increased over last year, about $74,000 due to our higher enrollment. We have our pension liability number, which is $3.7 million. Our unemployment line item is $30,000 in our health insurance, which is one of our largest costs at $7.5 million. So our total fixed costs here are $11,557,069. We have talked about health insurance and how to bring that premium down. And we have talked about a deductible plan. We're also looking into other healthcare options. However, everybody across the board is facing the same increases in their health insurance premiums, whether it's GIS or it's a different provider. So we've looked into that.
Is that without the deductible?
That's without the deductible.
So it went from 7.2 to 7.5?
Mhm.
Which I can't do the math in my head anymore. What is that?
We're very lucky this year.
5%, 3%, 5%,
5%.
give or take?
Yep.
Last year we were at 10. The range was 9.9 to 19 and change, and we hit at 10. And now we're at 5, and we hear communities around us grappling with 15 to 20% increases.
And what we are hearing from other communities when we're doing our research is that they are jumping. They're going from, say, Maya to Mayflower to a different plan. And while they get a short-term relief, then next year they're seeing those larger increases. So we're hoping to be able to work with Maya and add that deductible plan to reduce our overall cost in future years and be able to provide the same level of insurance to our employees.
Can I ask a question? Somebody also mentioned pulling out of OTEC, which I wouldn't agree with. And it seems to me that it's kind of been a heck of a program. So we've increased kids who want to go to VOTEC is what I'm saying.
Increased participation.
That's fantastic. Nice.
So the next slide is going to talk about those budget outliers that we're hearing so much about. Right here we have, the number one outlier within the townside budget is the human resource and insurance manager. In FY26, you'll see a cost of a salary of $113,680. And then you'll see in FY27, the new proposed salary is $146,747. I just want to highlight that this isn't an increase in salary. It's an increase in how we're showing the salary. This position is stipended for additional work within the community. And that stipend used to live elsewhere. And now we're putting it in the budget. Our intent this year with the budget was to right size everything, make sure everything is actually being accounted for where it should be. So when we move forward with those discussions of override or however the community decides to move forward, that we have a clear picture moving forward of everything within our budget. The finance department, you'll see a decline there. And that is due to our town accountant is primarily working less hours than a full-time employee. Therefore, that's the reduction. Treasurer collector department, those are just natural increases within the department. So 121,000 to 132,000. The police department head. So we've done a lot of research on this. In FY26, we're seeing a budget number of 197.56 and a proposed budget of 224. In prior years, the budget for the police chief was simply the base salary. It didn't take into account anything else within the contract. We want to make sure that we're showing everything. So therefore, if all the incentives or milestones are met within the police chief's contract, he has a potential earning of $224,000, and we want to highlight that and make sure it is in the budget. Fire department, very similar situation. Building department, after a compensation study from other communities, we realized that our building department head was not compensated as fairly as they should be, therefore making that adjustment in the FY27 budget. Facilities department head, that is just a step increase versus a new grade. So that's where that comes from. And the health administrator budget, I want to talk about this a little bit because there was some concern that this decreased but it actually increased, and it increased for the purposes of hiring a registered sanitarian in town. So we had a vacant position. We wanted to hire someone qualified to take on a lot of the responsibilities. And there were additional expenses being borne in this department for contractors reviewing Title V and restaurant inspections, and now our housing inspection program. The hope here with the increased salary was to hire a registered sanitarian to help with all of these. So therefore, the higher salary was warranted. CE director salary, there's a decline there. We have a new director in place. It's due, there's just no longevity. That is the starting pay for the CEA director. The veterans agent was an increase, and that's state mandated due to time. The veterans agent has to work so many hours, and therefore that is reflective of that. And the conservation agent here seems to be the largest outlier. And this typically was paid for in one of the reserve funds. However, the reserve fund never achieved enough funding to actually pay for this position. Therefore, we're funding it through the budget, which is appropriate for that position. So next would be the Appendix A, which really digs into everything from fiscal 24 to fiscal 27. It's a line item budget that accounts for all services, public safety, educational services, public works, health and welfare, health and recreation, debt service, benefits. It also highlights the sewer enterprise fund as well as the water enterprise fund. All of these items were just spoken about within the budget presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And that is the.
Can we go back to the outliers for a second?
Sure.
So can you walk me through again the conservation agent, and then I in a line before that you said something about revenues from home inspections, or because we voted on that a couple years ago and that was supposed to be self-funding, and so I'm just wondering what happened there.
Yeah. So I can't speak to the past. I can speak to the present, and I'm happy to walk you through that. So the conservation agent position, yes, it was supposed to be self-funded through that reserve fund. And what we realized is that reserve fund never achieved more than about $10,000. So we were unable to fund that position. So year over year, that position was being funded through, additional budget overages or free cash or, anywhere we could find money to fund it. This is a full-time position. It's important to the community. So therefore we found it appropriate to fund it through the budget. The reserve fund just doesn't sustain a full-time position. And if we want to look at something in the future, maybe it's increasing fees to sustain this position, but it cannot self-fund through that.
It's the first time this has happened. I mean, this was put in by the Conservation Commission 30 years ago. And once we hired a real agent prior to what used to exist, he was paid by fees collected from applicants. I can see maybe over 30 years times that maybe tweak, maybe the fees we charge for permits. But I don't recall this ever being an issue where there was a shortfall. As a matter of fact, I recall days when the agent was doing pretty well because we were collecting a lot of fees and he was collecting a piece of it, probably getting more than 60 grand a year.
Yeah, so to the best of my knowledge, and like I said, I can't speak to the past, the money we have in that reserve fund cannot sustain this position. It is not nearly enough.
Is that a revolving fund? Was that one of the annual renewals of revolving fund and funding for those?
So let me see if I can get more detail.
So in other words, the fees collected to conservation, just because we're talking about this, just going into general fund fees at this point, as opposed to being directed.
Nope, they're still directed. They're still going into their own reserve fund.
Okay.
There's not enough money in that reserve fund to pay for a position.
Okay.
I mean, it's a relatively small amount in the greater scheme, $60 million budget, but it's just contrary to what I understood happened for 30 years.
Are there other positions that are in a potentially similar spot where they're supposedly self-funding and just, I mean, not right now, but as we look forward to the next year, that kind of take a look at that and just at least understand
Yes.
if this could happen again?
Sure. So this is the only position that I'm aware of that was being self-funded solely by a reserve fund.
What kinds of fees go into that reserve fund?
So it's primarily permit fees, right? Application fees.
Are there, has there been a drop in
I
the,
mean, has there been a drastic drop in
Drastic drop
conservation
in the-
permitting? I mean, usually in this town, you need, you know, a large majority of projects need a planning permit, a health department permit, a conservation permit.
So I'm not sure that that fund has ever achieved capacity enough to fund this position, at least in the past 3 years.
And there's,
Well, when's the last time, when's the last time we raised our fees? Or when's the last time we looked at our fees? I know we looked at the RTF, but conservation and permitting.
So the building departments looked at their fees recently and are proposing a new fee structure. I'm not sure about conservation.
that would be tied to that. I mean, kind of this is along with new growth, like this is all kind of connected somehow. And so they should be raised or, you know, evaluated, I would think holistically together to make sure that all pieces are.
right, but if new growth is going down.
Well, then that's
Fees
probably
are
gonna go
gonna
down.
down.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's right. But that's why we should look at all of that.
I was on conservation for 10 years and was the chairman as well. And I know Tom was on conservation before me, but I'd say one of the things is that if it's project based, it can go up and down with the number of projects you have. And the projects aren't just new homes. It could be, you know, people adding on or things like that. So if you have a high, potentially, I don't know, you haven't opened up that whole line of insight, but potentially if you have a high mortgage market where people aren't going to be adding to their homes and doing things, then if the amount of projects decline per se, then you're not going to get the fees into it. So we're certainly not in the go-go times, you know, in the mid 2000s or something when you had low rates. But we would have to look into that to see what their NOIs and things are based today versus 10 years ago or something.
So I'm happy to pull the past 5 years to show the pattern of what has been collected versus what has been paid for this position.
I would ask Concom, I'd ask the whole permitting boards to just check your fees relative to ones around us, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all going up and it's not the people who take them.
I have a question about human resources in general, because I saw it was taken out of the shared budget.
Yes.
To the tune of like $274,000. Where is that now residing?
So the human resource budget is strictly in the general fund. It was in the shared budget. The idea of it being in the shared budget, I believe the intent was in the past that it would be a shared resource. However, there's not a shared resource, therefore it is in the town's budget and we're not burdening with.
So, and then that departmental budget presumably is the 274, something like that. So it's the 146 plus.
Exactly.
additional.
Any more questions on this?
Question?
I think it, go ahead.
Michelle, thank you. How many employees do you have now?
Great question. So I think we have 125 FTEs on the town side, and that's FTEs. So I don't want to confuse that. Because I did see a number out there, you know, that we've jumped drastically from 113 to 125. The 113 number was not an FTE count, but a true FTE count, which accounts for, you know, part-time employees and time. So we have 120.
Schools.
But that's just the town.
So it's just that I don't have a school segment.
That's for 39%.
Are we've referenced the collective bargaining agreements several times in the past few months and their impact on the budget. Are those signed, complete, public yet?
They are, I'll send you the link that they can be found. You go to the town website and go to human resources, you'll see the collective bargaining agreements listed there.
That's what they search in and often.
What's the average percentage increase in salary?
So they vary based on contract. Some are as high as 17%, some are as low as 6%, 3%. They vary. It depends on the collective bargaining unit.
Not our 2.5.
Not our 2.5. No, they're not. They're not. The only collective bargaining agreement that you will not see in the human resource file is the schools. So you'd have to go to the school site to find something. Yes.
Just a couple other one other quick one. If you go back to that where you had the adjustment for the under CIO, I think you had adjusted some out of the shared budget and that went to schools. Can you explain to me one more time quickly the rationale for that?
Sure. So last year, the shared budget had the entire shared resource of the technology budget. We've broken it out this year to just account for the CIO's time and the people that actually work within the schools and the shared software costs. So that is the only thing we put in the shared budget this year, where in prior years, it was the entire line item.
Are there any questions from the select board? So far, no? Is there more?
Just a question. So if my math is right, we're looking at a 4.7% increase in total expenses against the backdrop where we have collective bargaining going up 17% in places. So highlighting that unfortunately our costs are not in our control necessarily when you factor in collective bargaining and elements like that don't exist in the corporate world.
Right. So the entire town budget, I can tell you, has gone up 2.9%, and the school budget has gone up 4.83%.
And some of the contractual increases are individual. They're not all collective bargaining with unions. So it's not like we're giving a single union 17%. And all of the unions have steps and columns, just like the schools have steps and columns.
Conservative with the police and fire chiefs, you baked in all potential incentives, right? So that
Correct.
Just
which in the past were not.
Yes.
So yeah.
Clarifying question about that. If you go back to the actuals don't show in what you, so where are those being paid from, these incentives that?
So in the past,
paid in the past?
So in the past, there's been collective bargaining or negotiation line items that money's been pulled out of. But like I said, moving forward, we want to make sure we're painting a true picture of the salaries. We don't want to rely on other line items that have to be voted in the warrant to supplement these salaries when they're true costs of the employee. We did a survey comparison with other communities and the police chief salary, and we're right there in the pack, but we're the ones that bake in everything just to have that full picture of what it could look like.
So to answer your question, Courtney, it came from other line items that were under expended. So if you're asking why, say, a department had on paper that the salary line showed, say, 100,000, and this year we're showing 125. Well, the 25 or whatever less the increase is came from other unexpended line items within the budget.
That's specific to that particular compensation, that person, that individual.
Yes.
Correct. So I guess what I would just say is, I thank you for the answer. That list, it's a handful. It's not a huge number. It's problematic. Those increases they're high. I can't support town town salaries of leaders in the town, 29%, 17%, 10%, they're really high. It's challenging.
But that's the year over year increase that's concerning, right?
Yes, correct.
So, but the level in terms of what that is relative to other, again, so just correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, right? Because we made this one-time change this year, moving those out, which is inflating the percentage increases year to year. So on an apples to apples basis, that increase would not be of that magnitude. Again, this is important to realize that I think it's good that we've cleaned that up so that there's actually more clarity around these individual line items versus, hey, there's a $25,000 incentive that came out of unknown line item. So, I guess, and it's been benchmarked when we benchmarked, when we look at these total compensation packages, that they are consistent with other like municipalities.
Yes. I think the challenge is just that, we have a significant budget challenge. I'm not gonna say shortfall. The schools had a shortfall. People beat the heck out of them to get it back, and they did. And I give them credit for that. I think they did the right work. It just doesn't feel like a consistent message to me.
So maybe.
I think the message just needed to be recrafted in the way that it was. I applaud that move. To me, it's a lot more clear than in the past where those incentives weren't put into the budget. Again, I think this is the most conservative way of looking at it. And so, and yes, I commend the schools have done a tremendous job of reining things back in. But, again, we've got, this is where, I hear the comparison all the time of corporations versus municipality. It's apples to oranges. We have contracts that we've had to negotiate. We do not have the flexibility that a corporation has. We just don't. And so I like the reclassification. I think it's cleaner. I think it gives us a better picture of what the true costs are. And next year, I would imagine those increases are not going to be
Correct.
of that magnitude.
Correct.
It's a one-time kind of accounting change, but I mean, it's not negatively impacting the town, and it's just it makes sense to reclassify them that way, in my opinion.
I don't want to pick on the police chief personally, but we're using it, that salary. So we made this change. Follow up on Mike's point. What actually did he make with his incentives in this fiscal year?
Pardon.
You're showing 224 with incentives is the max that he could possibly earn. And I agree with Mike that budgeting it for that possibility is the way to go.
197.56.
Okay.
190.
So
That includes all of his incentives that are included.
So he has that's
so
one example.
Let me just clarify. So that is what is proposed in FY 26. So I
190.
yes, that was what was proposed in FY 26. We're still in FY 26, so I can't tell you what the actual amount's gonna be. I don't know if incentives were included in that, but from that number, it doesn't seem so.
Yeah.
Because when I'm looking at his contract right here, I'm seeing a base number, a base salary, plus those incentives is going to be higher.
Well, what's his base salary going up?
Um,
Fire chief. Let's not pick on him, the fire chief.
Oh, let's,
Yeah.
we're gonna-
Well, I think we can get into the nitty gritty person by person, but I think,
Important to the public to not think that we're adding somebody's salary unnecessarily. Let's.
I know, well, that's,
The way we report it, which I think makes sense, but let's show people actual numbers.
Yeah.
If we can.
I think it's something to be armed with.
Yes.
Just to say
Yes.
apples to apples, hey, this is 3%. It's not.
which is where I was going. And I don't think we should do it person by person tonight. We'll be here till tomorrow. So I think the recommendation, Michelle, is to look at base, look at incentives, I would add a column for average benchmarking in the area. We don't have to get into what town or whatever, and show base to base, incentive to incentive. And then I think that will better articulate.
Sure.
So to Courtney's point, we're not showing large increases,
Fair,
to that.
I'll prepare that.
Okay. Are there, any more comments? You guys have any comments on the budget?
Yeah, just a couple things. I think that, you know, it was a right sizing of the budget. Unfortunately, there was cuts coming from all quadrants of the budget. Definitely in town hall, there was positions that were lost and attrited. I know in the schools it was the same thing. But the budget's balanced and hopefully going forward, we can look at ways to some opportunities. And I think one of the ones, and it's not going to be overnight, but as we talked about with the Alternative Energy Committee, is that the schools have probably the three biggest buildings in the town, and that their electricity consumption was going down, but the prices of it were going exponentially up. And that so hopefully with getting solar on the Osgood, potentially on the Deer Hill, and then eventually on the high school, when that comes to be in the picture, that could be a potential for big savings on the school side. I think on the town side or the other departments, you know, a lot was done to fix this budget, but I do think that, and we are short on a couple positions. I do think we still need to go after the overtime and make sure that that is in the proper amounts with the police and fire to the best extent possible. I know there's been some hiring on the police, but a couple people have left. So, you know, that's always challenging if you don't have enough patrol people, you know, out there to cover the shifts. You're going to get overtime. And then you really want to balance with it where if you don't have enough patrol people, your overtime budget will blow up. But if you don't have too many patrol people, then of course it hits you on the other costs, you know, benefits and otherwise. So you sort of want to balance between the two. And I think we need to find where that healthy balance is. And I'd just like to thank the school committee and all the boards for all the work that they did on this budget, capital budget as well. But I do think there's a lot of work to be done, and that in the future we can see where we are with the schools, because all the communities are in the same boat. And some are even worse than in position than we are, where they've had major cuts in the schools and had to lose many teachers. So we've staved off this as much as we can, and then hopefully we can attack some of these areas in the budget now that's been right sized and look forward, because with the Cohasset schools, we don't just say we want to be like everyone else. We have a Cohasset standard, and that's what we set. We're not running to the middle, we're running to the top. And that's where we have to continue to look to go. Thank you.
Mr. Plex?
My questions have been answered. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Grady?
No, my questions were answered.
Okay. So I had prepared comments in my draft and it's gone, so I'm gonna have to wing it. So we talked about the puts and takes in the shared budget and how really it's only in those particular items $32,000 increase. And I want to commend Superintendent Shannon for her job in not only delivering an FY26 budget on budget, where we have no expectation of having to allocate free cash other than what we agreed to, and delivering FY27 and right sizing the district. I think what's challenging is when you look this year to last year, you don't look at the previous 2 or 3 or 4 years where we had some excessive, I take that back. I don't want to editorialize, where we had increases in FTEs in the school department with stable or declining enrollments. And we had increases, we had lots of increases. We had utilities that were budgeted less than what they were trending, resulting in the need for the town to support at end of year, because we have to have our budgets whole. And I think that has been corrected. Same with transportation. And I went back and I looked at it back to FY21 and how things were trending and how we budgeted them. And we had a situation where we had begun the process of reducing the tuition for the afternoon kindergarten session little by little. And then we were told as a town that if we fund it one time, we will get the money from the state and all those students will count full and our chapter 70 will increase, and that didn't happen. And we get into this kindergarten issue. And the perfect irony is, by this point, had we stayed with the original plan of reducing the tuition year over year, we would have full day kindergarten at this point. So we've had some budgeting stresses that have reduced, and I'm going to speak for myself, credibility with the schools working on the town side. And I will say that Ms. Leary and her predecessor, Mr. Senior, in my experience, worked very hard to support the schools with what the town could afford to do. And I feel very confident right now that we're at a base budget for the schools and for the town, and that we can move forward from this point. I think that Superintendent Shannon has uncovered every rock, uncovered every stone. I think she knows her district inside and out. She's a new finance director coming on board. And I think we're going to be in a good position going forward. But I think it's really important, and Mrs. Estino can attest, that you have to kind of look back at the past to make sure you don't repeat it. We have to make sure we budget things appropriately and not shave them, because the town will bail us out. And I feel confident that's where we are. And at the end of the day, 4.5 FTEs were reduced. And I've heard from school committee members that they feel it's right-sized at this point, and we'll go forward. So that's all I wanted to say. Okay. Are you guys ready to vote?
Okay, we have a motion to recommend Article 4 operating budget to the warrant at town meeting.
Second.
Roll call. Mike Barclay.
Mike Barclay, aye.
Tom Callahan.
Callahan, aye.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron, aye.
Michael Flaherty.
Michael Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi, aye.
Courtney Murphy.
Courtney Murphy, I will abstain until I see the more detailed crosswalk of the outlier positions.
And Vince Thornton.
Vince Thornton, aye.
And Jean Stino, aye.
Okay. Thank you. Can I have a motion to Article 4?
Article 4.
To recommend a town meeting for Article 4.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent. Thank you. Does that conclude advisory?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to
Sorry.
adjourn?
I would like to accept the motion to adjourn.
Can I join advisory tonight?
Hmm?
Can I join advisory?
No, you
tonight?
can't join advisory tonight.
We're full. We have full
Did somebody vote with advisory who shouldn't have?
Oh, he wants to join so he can adjourn.
Oh, sorry.
We have no openings.
Mike Barclay.
Mike Barclay, aye.
Tom Callahan.
Aye, I'm Callahan, aye.
Mark Cameron.
Mark Cameron, aye.
Mike Flaherty.
Mike Flaherty, aye.
Diane Kennedy.
Diane Kennedy, aye.
Mark Maggi.
Mark Maggi, aye.
Courtney Murphy. Vince Thornton.
Vince Thornton, aye.
And Gina Stino, aye. It's 8:59.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Okay, so next up, Michelle, we have town clerk election recommendations. I'm assuming everybody read them. They're pretty well detailed on the agenda. And there looks to be 3 approvals that are required. Although it doesn't say vote, it just says approve the Dairy Hill School gym. Oh, discuss vote. So
they all require a vote.
all require a vote.
All require a vote.
One by one, or can we do them en masse?
They're all very different. So I think they all should be done separately, unfortunately.
My only quick last one. That require a number, than just a general,
That does not require a number. That is to adopt the ballot question. The number actually goes in the motions at, annual town meeting.
oh, okay, fine, thank you.
Okay. Just give me one moment, please. I could do these together. All right, so can I have a motion to approve the Deer Hill School Gymnasium, 208 Sawyer Street, Cohasset as the voting location for annual town election Saturday, May 9th, 2026, and include the police detail?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the Dairy Hill School Gymnasium, 208 Sawyer Street, Cohasset as a voting location for the state primary election for Tuesday, September 1st, 2026, inclusive of a police detail?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. May I have a motion to approve the Jerry Hill School Gymnasium, 208 Sawyer Street, Cohasset as the voting location for state midterm elections on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2026, inclusive of a police detail?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, may I have a motion to finalize and adopt the ballot question as stated in the agenda?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So we have wrapped up the warrant. Correct, Michelle?
Did you finalize and adopt the ballot question? Did you just?
We just did
You
that.
just did that? I'm one question behind.
That's okay.
Okay. Yes, the warrant, is all set.
What about the decarbonization question?
So I think we vote to close warrant with that out to annual town meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So anyone have any final comments or questions about the warrant? No, I'd like to thank Michelle, Aaron, Tracy, Lisa, everybody who worked on it, and every iteration. We've been looking at drafts for 6 weeks. So thank you. So can I have a motion to close, sign, and publish the warrant for Cohasset Annual Town Meeting?
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Done. Yay. Okay, next up, notification of scenic road work permit, 383 South Main Street. We had in our packet, Mr. Hallen, are you talking about this or no? No. Okay.
Sandra's.
Cassandra is, okay. Cassandra, are you there?
I am now.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for waiting. Okay, you
problem.
want to just take us through what we need to do on this item?
Sure. So as a part of the scenic road bylaw, it's required that the select board be notified anytime the planning board receives a scenic road work permit application. So that was the notification that you guys received. You now have the option to provide any comments that you would like on the application based on the materials to the planning board for their hearing. It's set to be heard on April 15th. You're not required to provide any comments, but the option is there.
Okay. It seemed pretty straightforward. They want to take down 47 plus feet of wall, and they're going to reuse the stone in another manner.
Yes, so they're taking down 47 feet of a stone wall and repurposing the stone for, I believe it's 25 feet of stone wall in a different section. They're also proposing that a 20-inch tree in diameter be removed.
Okay. I have no questions. Anyone have any questions? No. So we have the application. Are you in need of a vote from us?
Nope, it's just the
No.
option to provide comment if you would like to.
Okay. I believe I signed this, Erin. Did I sign it?
I believe so, I'll double check.
Okay. Oh, if I didn't, I will. So we have no comments, we have no questions, so planning board can proceed.
Sounds great.
Okay. Thank you so much for waiting.
No problem. Have a nice night.
You too. Okay, next up, Mr. Hallen. Sorry, we're 16 minutes behind, sorry.
No, that's fine. Just an update on 46 Border Street. We have issued a phase 2 permit with some conditions. So the conditions being it's a controlled construction work, so therefore it has to be supervised throughout the whole project by design professionals, whether it be an engineer for structural, architect, electrical engineer, fire prevention, all that stuff. So what we've done in this phase of the project, we required the architect to make a minimum of 2 site visits per month throughout the whole project. We've also required the supervisor to be on site for the whole project from Monday through Friday at any working hours. We restricted the working hours to Monday through Friday, 7 to 5, Saturday, 8 to 5, and no Sunday and no holiday working hours. So that we'll be giving this information to the fire and police chief so they get a hold of the supervisor in case of an emergency on there. The owner of the project has signed the schedule of work. The completion date is scheduled right now for sometime in May of 27. So that's we permit under. So and that also includes all our normal inspections, plumbing, electrical, gas, building. Those will be conducted, in the normal process as needed.
Okay.
Unless there's any other questions, but that's kind of the.
So this is the Atlantica, now the Cohasset Wharf, and I had asked Miss Leary to have Mr. Hallen come in because, and forgive me, I don't remember if everybody's been on all the emails from residents, but we've been receiving a handful, maybe a half dozen, from the neighborhood in the last 6 or 8 months and wanting to know what can we do, and up until this point, they've been hitting, the developer has been hitting the benchmarks as provided in the permit. Is that a fairly accurate statement?
Yes, the permit was broken up into 2 phases. So he had to complete phase 1 before we allow the application for phase 2. So phase 1 being, if you're looking at the building, the right-hand side, phase 2 again being the left-hand side. So a lot of phase 2 is the building's going to be completely demolished, the infrastructure being checked to. Also, there'll be having the structural engineer review the pier system out in the harbor to confirm that if it needs repairs or not, but we'll have his report for that as well. In addition to that, some of the confusion is at 44 Border Street, which is different owners, same building. They are doing a project of the old salt house. So that permit is active. We were by last week, the health agent and I. So they're hoping to open up sometime end of May, beginning of June. They're installing a new kitchen area there and doing some other interior work. They have also sprinkled that half of the building and have their own sprinkler room. So it's pretty active, but hopefully that side will be done end of May.
Okay.
On the Cohasset Wharf project, what stage of completion by percentage is it? Is it 25% through the project, 40%, 55%?
The overall project, I probably want to say, is maybe 40% completed. Phase 1 is envelope completed, so any tenants that they move in there will do the last fit out, appliances and stuff like that. But the phase 1 is fully sprinkled, alarmed, so it's safe. They're also during the construction, there'll be temporary sprinklers for any of the construction work as they needed and other kind of safety precautions that we reviewed with the fire department.
Any expectation of the date of completion at this point?
I think we're looking at May of 2027.
Thank you.
Mr. Flex,
No questions. Thank you.
Mr. Grady,
No questions.
Yeah, thank you. As a town, we really don't have much authority beyond the permitting and the inspections that come with projects like that. I commend you for working with the developer and the owner, agreeing to, set out some guardrails for this project that the neighbors, they don't like looking at it every day, and I get that. So, thank you for
Yeah,
stepping.
we're able to bring in the architect, engineers, developer,
Yep.
owner, and everyone together, so they're all hearing the same message.
Yep.
At least all on the same page moving forward.
Perfect, thank you. And I look forward to it, both entities opening. The town could certainly use the revenue from the meals tax and other taxes. So thank you very much.
And anything else? Any other projects or other questions on why I'm here? But
No, that was it.
all right. Well, thanks. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next up is Public Safety Facilities Committee, modify the charge. Mr. Pratt has requested that we amend the charge, which is in our packet. I know I printed it, and to include ex officio members. So, sorry that Mr. Platts has it open. Oh, here it is. Okay, so under section C, has 8 members appointed by the select board. Section C, the following positions: police chief, fire chief, a select board member, advisory committee member, capital budget committee member, police union representative, and fire union representative shall serve as non-voting ex officio member of the committee, providing advisory input. These particular individuals and people have been attending these meetings since we formed the working group last fall. Does anyone have any problems amending the charge?
No, they've been there the whole time.
They've been there the whole time, so this is kind of perfunctory. So can I have a motion to approve the amended Cohasset Public Safety Facilities Committee charge? He's gone.
Oh, so moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
That'll be 3-0. Don't know where Paul went. Okay. Okay, request a financial forecast from FMRB.
We just want to bring this to your attention as we talk about financial forecasting and potential overrides in the future. We'd like to request the services of the DOR. They have a group, the FMRB, which is the Financial Management Resource Bureau. They conduct a class, if you will, that's going to be hosted here in Cohasset, and they teach you how to put together your long-range forecast for municipality over the next 5 years to include capital and operating costs. We're going to take advantage of their resources. It's a free service. They just need you to vote to approve having them here.
And that will take the burden of the long-range planning off the volunteer committee members.
That is correct. They can work
Which
alongside of them.
I vote for that.
But our accountant will be involved with this process.
Okay, and go ahead.
And you said it's free.
Okay. No, I think it's terrific, and I commend the previous long-range financial planning group that met religiously to come up with the current document. And I had been meeting with the other chairs of the boards, and we started out strong. We've lost steam with everything that's going on. So to have someone professional come in, and maybe we can spoon feed them the previous work so that it's not a tell us about Cohasset, because we already have it all documented. Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the, well, if it's free, we're not hiring.
We're not hiring, just the services, I guess.
Okay, motion to approve utilizing the services of FMRB.
So moved.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you.